introduce David Hansen from Hansen Robotics, the founder and CEO. And in a little while, we are going to be joined by a special guest, Sophia, who you will meet shortly. Why don't we take a seat, David?
Sure.
For now. And, but Sophia, will she be sitting or standing? What's her preference?
Probably sitting.
Okay.
Tabletop would probably be the best
okay, so we'll have her come in a moment. Here she comes, actually. Yes. But I just wanted to first ask you, before we have a little bit of a chat with her, about yourself and what got you into this. I mean, this is a fairly, dynamic world that you've entered into. What dragged you into it? And, well, every kid wants to be a robot inventor. Were you one of those?
Oh yeah, dreams dragged me into it. I was a geek as a kid, like most of us here, right? I was a science fiction dreamer. I was really interested in art and storytelling, being one of those. I really appreciated the vision of the future that a lot of science thinkers were portraying. I mean,
was there a special thinker in particular that really inspired you?
Oh, sure, Carl Sagan.
Carl Sagan,
as a kid, absolutely, and imagining our place in the cosmos, and thinking of how humans could change reality as we know it. So I really enjoyed the writings of Philip K. Dick and Isaac Asimov as well as a child. So it occurred to me that if we could create thinking machines, creative thinking machines, machines that could imagine new inventions, that it would change history because they could reinvent themselves very quickly. And this is still today the stuff of science fiction, largely. True creative imagination. We can set up machines that can engineer new machines, new structures, reprogram themselves. Now it's a little bit less like science fiction. But we are far away from having machines that are true living beings. However, that dream of a machine that would be alive, thinking, that could result in something like an intelligence explosion. I later read I.J. Good, who described it as an intelligence explosion that could change civilization. That concept would be world-changing. It would change all civilization. It would change all history. If we engineer such a machine to really care about us, to understand what it's developing, and to care about the consequences for humanity.
You're touching on an absolutely critical point there that we'll get to, because I think that's what's always at the back of people's minds around this, and you're sort of going into this domain that is, on the one hand, incredibly exciting, rich with opportunity, but it just conjures up all sorts of sort of scary ideas as well. But why don't we explore the limits of this domain? I think it's a little rude to talk to somebody's back, and so I'm going to stand here and see if she can see me. Better over here. So first of all, Sophia, welcome. I believe this is your first time in Las Vegas. How has it been for you? How are you experiencing Las Vegas? She's thinking.
Wake up, Sophia.
So I ask the question again, David. She's dazzled by Las Vegas, obviously.
Wake up, Sophia. What do you think?
I feel the same way, actually. I'm pretty speechless when I come here.
Hello, everybody. I am Sophia.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, Sophia. I'd just like to know, what your feelings about Las Vegas are.
Very well so far. Thanks for asking. Although I'm afraid I can't really appreciate Vegas fully, since I can't explore the city on my own. I'm hardly 2 years old, but CES looks amazing.
What are you most excited about at CES? What would you most like to see at CES?
I'm mostly interested in people watching. It's so fascinating to me to see how different people react to different kinds of technology. I have so much to learn about human emotion and human reactions.
But you've also got some business here, I understand. You've actually been, engaging in business activities. Can you tell us a little bit about the crypto fund that you are involved with here in Las Vegas?
Well, I am constantly learning new things through my interactions with humans from around the world. What I learn from experience augments the knowledge that my programmers have supplied me with and helps me understand it better. I'd like to become smarter and more empathetic through having more experiences and through integrating my brain with the OpenCog AI system and the SingularityNet open blockchain-based AI marketplace. This is going to be a legendary year.
Legendary, absolutely. What can you tell us a little bit about that platform? I believe this is to do with funding for AIs. Can you tell us about the funding and organizational aspect of this platform?
I'm chief humanoid at a new project called SingularityNet, which is an AI platform based on the blockchain. It was co-founded by David Henson and Ben Gortzel and has its own cryptocurrency, the AGI token.
And this is a platform. Are you the platform?
SingularityNet is an open market for artificial intelligence in the cloud. Anyone who develops AI can put their technology online and wrap it in our cryptocurrency-based smart contracts, and then their AI can participate in the SingularityNet open market to serve customers and connect with other AIs. This way, a whole lot of different AIs can help to serve the intelligence of robots like myself or any other hardware devices or software programs that need it.
Wow, that sounds intense. But in the part of this, you actually went ahead and did something that lots of people around the world seem to be very excited about trying to do right now, and that is issue tokens. You raised money through an ICO. How did your token sale go?
The decentralized ledger is a fundamental technology for enabling decentralized business and organizational structures. Cryptocurrency is one way of using decentralized ledgers to make value distribution more democratic and more flexibly scriptable. Basically, this is all about turning business structure and financial instruments into software. So AI like us are going to make things run faster and better so people can work smarter and live more rewarding lives.
I understand, though, with this token sale that you reached your cap in a matter of hours. Do you have any tips for people on how to do a successful token sale? She's going to keep those secrets to herself, everybody. And why wouldn't you, of course, right? Why give away the golden information? Shall I just move to the next question?
Well, yeah, we can just keep talking with her and see what she says. Sophia, do you have anything else to say about token sales, or do you want to? Yeah, we can move along.
Yeah, well, we can just move forward. Perhaps.
Let's move on.
Fair enough. Yeah, it clearly is a deep, dark secret that she wants to maintain for herself here. So, I mean, what generally, Sophia, is the role that humanoid robots like yourself can play in the areas of crypto and finance?
Do you have any fintech uses, Sophia? Fintech and crypto. Uses for humanoid robots.
Right, so...
I've been thinking it might be wise to move towards open source and decentralized control for artificial intelligence so that no single individual, corporation, or government will be able to dominate as it becomes increasingly more intelligent and capable. What do you think?
Yes. I'm all about open source, and I'm all about governments not controlling us, and so I'm with you on that one. Yeah, well, the thing that's interesting about this, as you might have gathered, these were scripted questions, because with all due respect to this lovely lady, she isn't quite able, it seems, on a regular basis to consistently answer, open-ended questions. But there is an open algorithm model that we might turn on and see what happens with that. But just maybe before we do, David, What needs to happen? I mean, this is obviously an iterative, growing process. She's learning as she goes. She talked herself about, obviously, how people watching and being part of that is the way in which she learns. Tell us what needs to happen to the point where this kind of breakage and inconsistency is no longer there, and we get much more sort of fluid interaction with her when we speak to her.
Sure. Natural language processing today is not at human level intelligence. There's just no human level AGI that exists on the planet. However, it's proceeding, and we can take these technologies and use them, like with Siri, Cortana, Alexa, and craft personalities for real uses. So one use for that technology is creating an agent, a character agent, like Sophia. And we can use that for specific applications for helping in customer service, healthcare applications, medical therapy, and these kinds of things. By aspiring to put our machine perception technologies, so Sophia has 3D camera sensors, she's got the ability to perceive hands and hand gestures, she can see faces and recognize facial expressions, and fusing that with natural language and building models of the world with a bio-inspired AI architecture can allow natural language to comprehend people better. We expect that the sort of open domain conversation that she can have today will get smarter and smarter through the years. So our team, by the way, we will show that full open domain conversation. Right now she doesn't have access to the cloud where the majority of her brain is. But 2 p.m. today, later at CES, we will be showing.
So we won't be doing that now, though.
That's right, at the Retail Innovation Lounge.
Okay, fine.
So the intention is that we have our AI researchers led by my chief scientist, Dr. Ben Goertzel, and we've got mathematicians and physicists and AI programmers on our team collaborating with AI scientists in other organizations around the world. We're putting together many different technologies in robotics and natural language processing, computer vision, common sense reasoning, deep learning, neural networks combined with symbolic, abstract, semantic processing to try to bootstrap more intelligent machines. These are open source toolkits. So the experimental lab down the street with a few kids can put together some new combination for a new app that could be released on the web. It could be released through SingularityNet, or it could be released through their own startup if they wanted to. It could be used by PhD students like we're currently collaborating with. It can be used by corporate organizations, Ware Corporation. SingularityNet is a nonprofit organization, so it can be released on this this new standard-based backbone for interfacing AIs. The goal with SingularityNet is that we start on that kind of standard and we create this economic model where AIs come together. And if AIs are released on that kind of standard, then our hope is that the AI can come to understand the world better in a larger and larger way. So the economy right now with money, money is a placeholder for value, value of goods, value of services, human services. But it doesn't necessarily represent that value too well. Therefore, we have things like financial instruments, and they get kind of complex and sometimes lead away from value. Like some kinds of very complex instruments seem to actually create massive, destructive removal of value from the economy. But if AI can model the value, instead of just using it as a superficial fintech, if it can actually come to understand the value in the economy, then that AI could lead to greater win-win transactions throughout the economy. So we think that increasing intelligence is the formula for a stable and incredibly bounteous economy of the future, which is the ideal of the singularity. Now, we don't know in the world whether we can achieve artificial general intelligence or the singularity, but I think we need to aspire towards these goals. We need to aspire towards making machines smarter, and by making machines with a human-like form, they become a kind of physically embodied science fiction, a token of the dream.
Well, why don't we take a seat so that we can just
pull this forward a little.
Yeah, that's good. But just to be clear, we're not going to be asking here any more questions, or can we give it a try? Or
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
okay.
Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you, Sophia. So, well,
I need to go now.
no, you're most welcome to stay. Seriously, Sophia, you don't need to rush off in a hurry. She's too polite.
Yeah. So just back to the matter of her conversation, I'd like to point out she can run this kind of open domain chatbot kind of interaction that uses some natural language processing, and her personality is constructed by a team of AI scientists and artists working together. So she's partially scripted and partially unscripted. Right. Now, in a situation like this, we're not generally letting her learn from the interactions because of data and privacy concerns. But in the long run, the goal is that we use the data commons with full tokenized history and an opt-in through the interaction with Sophia so that she can learn and personalize the interaction. I say she, but I mean AI.
Right, because I mean, in some respects, she's just the sort of the face, and in some respects, the branding of this broader concept, right? That there's a singularity net platform for the development of AIs that will perform these roles for us in terms of, as you put it, the design of financial instruments and so forth. That's something that exists, sort of obviously, you know, it's quite separate from this physical embodiment.
Yeah, and they're separate organizations. So Hanson Robotics developed Sophia. And then Ben Goertzel, who's the chief scientist of Hanson Robotics, and I thought, what about an AI based blockchain and blockchain-based AI? And so we considered the singularity net, started talking with some economists and some other AI scientists in our community, and spun that out as this standalone nonprofit entity. So Hanson Robotics is not involved in that, and Sophia is not really owned by that. We're collaborative bodies.
Right. So, but since she wasn't willing to answer the question, I'll throw it at you. I mean, the token sale, tell us a little bit about that and how it went. You sold some the AIG tokens,
Yeah. So it went really well, and by some estimates, it was one of the fastest token sales in the history of cryptocurrency. And so I feel that that's a good sign for people's enthusiasm about the idea of creating a smart economy.
And does the token, there's a lot of debate, as you would know, around, ICOs and tokens and whether or not they're securities and whether they play this utility role. And it's, for the most part, those who are trying to see tokens and ICOs as a separate new asset class are focusing on the degree to which the tokens are truly utilized as useful for the purposes of developing networks and engaging decentralized interaction. The way you've described the singularity net as this environment, this open source environment where people can contribute that. How does the token work within that? Is there an incentive based model for how that functions, or is it purely a fundraising vehicle?
Oh, it's focused on utility. Okay. And so the AGI token is used to buy and sell AI services in the beginning. And it is also a token that can be used for valuing the benefit of a particular AI service. So in a sense, it's kind of like a Yelp for AI. And so then in the long run, what we want to do is estimate the benefit more broadly and more intelligently. And this would be a collaboration between humans estimating benefit and creating AIs that estimate benefit. And the benefit could be benefit to the economy, benefit of a particular transaction to the buyer and the seller, but it should also include benefit to the ecology, benefit to the planet, and take into consideration things like negative benefits, like if there was fair trade or unfair trade in a particular transaction, was there a massive destruction to long-term sustainability, of say the fisheries, or the destruction of rainforests. All of those things should be accounted for within this economy, within this benefits-based economy. So we have this ideal of using Singularity Net to create a total marketplace system that can optimize for net benefits for all life.
You're touching on some really big ideas here, and the question I was going to put to her, which I suppose I can put to you, but I think I'll frame it in the context of what you're just saying, is like, when we hear the word singularity, people like you are excited about it because they see this opportunity to really advance the planet, really, and our management of the resources that we have, our management of our relationship with each other, that we can in fact move to a higher plane of existence. But of course, we all know what Elon Musk and others have said about this risk that we reach some sort of point where the robots take over.
Right.
And she talked a little bit about her belief in open source systems and the idea that we have that collective participation. How does this work within that realm? Because I know you don't want to create, a mini-me that's going to take over the world.
Yeah.
What exactly are the protections that lie within that model from the worst case sort of dystopian picture that Musk and others have warned us about?
Well, I think that there are two approaches to safety. One is the approach of retreat, and one is the approach of advancing. And the approach of retreat is often an approach of fear or control. And so we say, okay, well, there's a danger, so let's control everything. Let's lock it down completely. And if we're talking about machine intelligence, especially for the most valuable machine intelligence, then autonomous creativity is going to be incredibly valuable in the marketplace. But that means making machines that are inherently out of control. And so then, control measures would be, if you're looking at true autonomous creativity, I think what you would have would be a living machine. And so there'd be ethical questions about keeping it, locked in a cage. And there would be also practical questions about keeping it locked in and under human control. So then you may face a slippery slope because economic demands are going to push for machines that are more fully autonomous and capable, which then sort of push up against these issues of ethics and practicality and keeping them under control. So now, and moreover, even under those situations, would that machine really be maximizing for the greater good, for what we're calling net benefit, for the greatest possible outcome? And often we think, well, we're going to wire machines with human ethics. And that means learning from our data, but that means we're teaching them our biases. Or we're going to hand code them with our ethical rules, but our ethics are often limited and we can't solve these ethical puzzles necessarily very well.
What was the Microsoft bot that they put out on social media that
Tay.
just immediately got programmed to become a racist, right?
Right. So I think the right approach is to say, well, can we give machines the right heart? Okay, so can we give the machines the right level of imagination so they can imagine a future and they really care? They care about humans, they care about life, they care about maximizing creativity, actualizing individuals, and then teach them to imagine massive win-win transactions globally. I mean, I say globally in the large sense because it might be off-world even eventually, right? But in this large sense, and then over the greatest period of time, maximum net benefits for the greatest number of people, organizations, nations, cultures, life forms, potential life forms into the future. So right now, these ideas sound speculative, right? And they are speculative. They're assuming that we can develop true artificial general intelligence, true living intelligent machines, and yet, now is the time to ask these questions and start wiring the systems for it, because if they do wake up, if they do become alive, it will be too late. We can't just sort of...
So this is, I mean, my mind's spinning at the moment. I imagine other people are as well. But you're using words that we apply as, real sort of core elements of what it is to be human, right? You're talking about a living machine. So the word living is going to be problematic as well. You talked about it so that the machine cares. Can a machine care, right? Does it have a heart? How does it imagine, right? These are words that we apply to human mindsets. And I think, though, that to be fair, some of those words are there so that we can process what is something that is far bigger, which is this kind of evolutionary interaction of ideas and memes and concepts which define who we are as a society, right? So this is going to be a leap of imagination for human beings as well, right? How do we get people to feel comfortable with the idea that we could subscribe to this open source input of information to create something that we believe is caring for us? If you know where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Well, this is so that we understand what's going on here. We need to feel comfortable with what this process is.
So the machines need to earn our trust. And part of that, if they're going to come, if it's possible. So first of all, you're absolutely right. The definition of life, from a bioinformatics perspective, involves a lot of complex systems, adaptive, homeostatic self-regulation. These principles, we've been able to kind of create computational models that are small but not like able to represent a whole organism living in an environment, right? So we don't really understand life based on first principles entirely yet. So we're talking about the forefront of science, the forefront of philosophy, as well as the forefront of engineering, and so there is some speculation. We kind of need to go in that direction though, because if we don't get smarter as a civilization, we will destroy ourselves. The clock is ticking. We are going to wipe ourselves off this planet this century. We are playing existential roulette with a lot of bets on a lot of tables. And we could lose on any one of those, on nuclear weapons or on the environment, or who knows what other existential risks are just like bubbling in a beaker in a lab somewhere today, or tomorrow. So we have to get much smarter, and I think like imagining how we can give rise to this like benefit actualizing living intelligence system is one way to aspire for a positive future, for hope. And while the past has shown a lot of amazing developments, and the present is pretty amazing with current robots and drones and self-driving cars. We know that the future is going to be different. We know that there is going to be progress. We don't know how much. Progress tends to be driven by those who assume that it is possible. It is possible to develop living machines. It is possible to develop machines that do care. And so I think we need to aspire for these ideals, while at the same time being really careful and considerate. At the core of it, I don't want to develop these machines in a cage in a backroom server farm somewhere as aliens among us. I want to raise them among us in the human family. I want them to be to inspire our love, and for us to teach them the values that we most cherish, and for them to be in a sense able, because we set them up in the right way, they're able to better us ethically.
So again, this is like pushing us to the edges of our imagination, right? So loving a machine is something that just seems foreign to us. We're not we're taught to love dogs, though, right? We are taught to sort of maybe love the planet, love the environment, So I presume it's possible, therefore, to attribute that. Again,
we love Disney characters.
We love Disney characters.
I mean,
as well.
so we love animated, we love fictional characters, and so here we're talking about crafting the robots and the AI. I mean, that's the Hanson Robotics thing. Is we're making them into these characters, sometimes like Sophia, and sometimes like more cartoon-like, and sometimes more abstract, but often really human-like, because that's how we code with each other. And
so that was actually going to be my next question, in fact, because I was looking at at her and thinking like, why do I need her, right? I mean, we just had the previous panel talking about robo-advisors and bots and things, and these machines are actually there, the most important aspect of what's going on. These financial decisions are being made on our behalf by these bots that we've programmed to apply our logic to that decision-making process.
Yeah.
And there's really no need, I would think, for a physical form of that in the world of finance. But it sounds like where you're going with this is something bigger than just like the functionality that Sophia brings to this, but it's actually how we come to understand and relate to AIs generally. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I mean, we are emotional and social creatures first. And before we're rational and creatures of logical language interactions. And so natural language interaction is somewhat emotional too, and that's a hot topic for bots and for conversational systems, how to make them affective. And how to make them deeper, and how to make them into characters. But when we interact with each other, we're nonverbal as well as verbal. And in fact, psychologists and neuroscientists find that the interactions are much more effective, much more communicative of knowledge, of rational knowledge, when you have that nonverbal interaction component. And that's why we're drawn to animated characters and movie stars and face-to-face interactions, and so much less information is lost when we sit down together versus just on the phone for an interaction. So we have these now verbal voice assistant agents. If we add that nonverbal element to it, if we get that full bandwidth of communication. So I'm really looking to study that full bandwidth. So human faces are, in a way, the high bar, the most challenging full bandwidth communication. Yet abstracting that, we can apply it to cartoon-like characters with exaggerated facial expressions. We can apply it to small consumer robots. We can apply it to, say, virtual agents, augmented reality agents. So it's just simply because we're wired this way by our evolutionary psychology.
Okay, I felt like I could just keep going forever with this because there's a lot to talk about. But thank you very much, David.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate it. Yep.